Welcome back, and this is part 2 with Dom Herbertson. As we left part 1, we were talking about your ambitions, about how you've come through the ranks, when at some point at the start of your TT career, it sounded like you were just going to give up because you weren't, what shall we say, you weren't very good.
I was rubbish.
I didn't want to say that, but, you
Harsh.
did. But listen, if you had it done, you wouldn't be where you are now. And I think where you are now is testament to your effort, obviously your dad and what he's managed to help you with, and just the commitment to actually go through with it and find yourself fighting for top 10 finishes at the 2022 TT. You must be pretty proud of that, right?
Yeah, it's... I tell you what, it's funny, like on the break, obviously the last pod that we did there, you were saying we're going to mention the podcast, and like, I'm going to briefly bring that up. And the one thing I hate doing is talking about myself. I hate it. You can probably see me squirming. I absolutely despise it. But, it's mad. But like, yeah, I am over the moon. I'm over the moon,
Yeah.
To achieve top 10s and to nearly do a 130. I'm gutted. I'm not going to lie. I'm gutted this year because I wanted to try and... You always want to try and beat your own goals. Mm-hmm. And every year leading up to that, I've always gone faster. But it's been a weird year. And I'm glad we're talking about this now, because I need to ask you, Steve, and I've asked loads of people, and why is this year been slower, in your opinion?
It's a difficult one to answer without riding around. Normally, I'll do a parade lap and and so on at various other events on the island. So that part is difficult to answer because, of course, the terrain, the course, the surface. Some places have been resurfaced, some have been smoothed out. With everything that happens across the world, there's a bit of subsidence, if things change, grip levels and so on. But I think the bottom line is, mate, with being away for so long, I asked this question a lot pre-TT at different events that I host and podcasts and various things. Even here with Hickey, I can't remember all that time back, and I said, do you think it's going to affect the pace, of the TT in 22, because obviously you've missed 3 years. And Hickey was adamant, no, it'll be straight back to the same pace.
I was the same.
Yep. I disagreed completely, because once stopping racing and not being there year in, year out and just doing the odd parade lap, and all of a sudden it's, was that flat? Was that... And so on. So it takes some time. I know conditions were great this year. Weather was good, so there's plenty of practice time and so on. However, you're not really in the zone like you have been because, over the last 2 years, that's 4 events.
It is mad, but then let me throw in a couple of curveballs called Michael Dunlop. He went and smashed a lap record. Mm-hmm. You're thinking...
In Supersport, yeah.
But then you had like Davy Todd, he was always going to go faster, wasn't he? But then you look at the solid facts and that's Dean Harrison and Hickman. Hickman's a 136 man if you round it up, and he's like Dean Harrison's a 135 man. But then you've got Dean Harrison doing 32s, Hickman doing 33s, even though he did nearly a 34 in practice. And then he just ran out of fuel, didn't he? Mm-hmm. At that point.
That's right.
But then there's that many little curveballs. But then let's talk about Hutchie, Hillier, and Mr. McGuinness. They're all doing 29s. I was doing 29s. They were doing 29s. And you're thinking, why on earth the levels? It's blown my mind why some people have gone quick and some haven't. But I completely agree about the terrain, because there was bumps where there weren't. But then it was like a billiard table in some other places. You're thinking, I cannot get my finger on it.
Hey, but
boils me.
That's the Alaman TT, and that's why it's the unknown to a certain degree, year in, year out. That's without having 2 years off because obviously the pandemic. But I said to Chris earlier, that's probably one of the reasons why there's a strong chance I might even come out of retirement next year, because everybody's so flipping slow now.
What's your wife saying to that, though?
Well, hopefully she won't be listening.
Hopefully not.
Is this an exclusive, Steve? Are we coming back?
Someone get him a bike. All he's working for TAS Racing. You'll see him on the BMW next year in one of them factory buggers. There you go.
There you go. You sorted.
How is life back in the fast lane then?
Back in the fast lane. Life's good, in all fairness. Obviously, with everything that I do now, after hanging up my leathers, my competitive leathers, should I say. Well, I mean, of course, apart from winning the Revival last year, I don't like to mention it, but it's just... Yeah.
Is that back on?
This year, yeah. Yep, last year was back on, sorry, and this year, yeah.
Are you back with the levers on? You putting
Well,
another lap in?
I've had the invite. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to be riding if I do, but it's at the moment it still doesn't clash. So yeah, it's looking that way.
Very good.
Do you need a teammate?
Good question. I'm not sure. I'm not honest. I asked. You know what? I asked them if I could race a car.
Did you?
Really?
Yeah.
You've done a bit of car racing?
Stock car racing years ago. If you
Well,
listen,
isn't that
if
the
you're
ones you
flipping
bump into
listening
each
to
other?
episode 17, you would know.
I've not listened to one. I'm sorry. Not
No,
one, not
seriously.
one.
But I've done some bits and bobs, and tested some things like British touring cars and stuff like that. But yeah,
Right.
it's just something that kind of floats my boat a little bit. At the end of the day, it's like everything else. I've been, I've had some good times at the Revival, and I really enjoy it. But I'm not really that competitive now. I've kind of lost that sort of will to win to a certain degree.
Really?
Not too worried. I'd love to ride fast, but as you're well aware, there's a difference in riding fast and pushing and trying to achieve that goal. Well, that bit's gone. I'm quite happy to.
If you don't mind me asking, how long, when you hung up your levers, how long did it take for that bite to go away?
Immediate.
Really?
Yeah. Because in my opinion, if there's any thought in your head about retiring, it's time to stop. Plus, I kind of achieved the stuff because I was a late starter to racing. I'd achieved almost all the things I wanted to do. So it's kind of, it's weird. And that's not something it's difficult for a lot of people to stop. And I fully understand that because it's an addiction to a certain degree. But I was very lucky and there's no magic potion for that. It just kind of happened and yeah.
But throw that question to Dom. Dom, if you were to win the senior, could you go, do you know what? I'm done. You'd still want to come back?
Oh, God, 100%.
Yeah?
100%.
Wow.
No, without a doubt in my mind. And I'm scared of not going to the Isle of Man.
Yeah, you said that in the first part, yeah.
You know what I mean? This year was probably the first difficult year I've had round there. As far as I put probably too much pressure on myself to try and achieve too much and everything like that. But it's like any relationship, you're going to have ups and downs. And it's made me realise that I should have enjoyed it more. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I did not enjoy it, but I should have enjoyed it more for what it is.
Easier to say that in hindsight, though, right?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. And I'm really looking forward to getting back for the Classic, but I'm really looking forward to getting back to the TT. Really looking forward to getting back. Just chill a bit more and just go faster.
Do you think that was part of your crash?
Probably 210s.
Because you was trying a little bit too hard, a little bit too... Maybe I don't mean overriding your bike particularly, but yeah, maybe trying a little bit too hard to achieve your goals rather than letting it flow.
Yeah, no, that's probably a fair comment, but definitely the wind gust helped underneath the front end. Like every time I get on a bike, I try my best, and it's one of those. And you shouldn't be on a bike if you're not trying to push on. But you're right, and it's one of those places, and it's the most frustrating place in the world because to go fast, you need to go slow. Mm-hmm. Riddle me that.
Yeah.
How on earth do you do that? It is so backwards thinking, but you've got to push on enough to get a time without overriding.
Yeah.
You're thinking, well, what? It's just, there is no secret. Because, how many times have you won, Steve? You'll remember this off the top of your head.
TT twice.
Yeah. Twice. And every TT winner says the same thing. It didn't feel like a win. Now, I've won a classic TT. I know it's not the same as a TT, but it does feel like that. You don't feel like you were scratching. It doesn't feel like you were throwing everything at the wall. It was just...
I think that relates to any lap, any race, anywhere. Your fastest lap was always easiest. Fastest race was always easiest.
Oh, when I've gone to short circuits and won there, I'm blowing out my gasket. I'm chucking everything at it.
That's no different to MotoGP. The difference with those boys is they can ride at the absolute limit and they can control the aggression. That's the biggest part. 'Cause there's plenty of people that are daft enough and brave enough to push hard and go fast, but those can control that aggression the most, end up being the most consistent and the fastest.
There we are.
So,
in my opinion,
looking forward then to 2023 and beyond, what I guess you've got to be looking at 130.
Oh, God,
you want to get into that club. You're potentially right there or thereabouts. With a bit of luck on your side, you could be fighting for top fives, potentially podiums as well.
Yeah,
is that what you're looking at? Is that your kind of goals, or are you just simply going, I want to go there and I want to enjoy it?
Oh, no, it's... I've never been one of those people who've just set me stall out. I never have, you know what I mean? Because I don't like failing on myself, if you know what I mean. But of course you do. You have your own goals and ambitions, and I'm realistic. And you see a lot of interviews and like, yeah, I want to be on the podium. I want to be on the podium. That takes time. And you know, for me, my next goal is to break into the top 5. You know, we're thereabouts, and it is achievable. It's so much harder now, so much harder. But yeah, podiums later down the line. I do want to achieve that, but when, I couldn't tell you. Could not tell you.
So again, you touched on it a few times, just saying you fear the day that you can't go to the TT. So are you're just going to go every single year, just year on year?
Hopefully, yeah. It's but I'm not going to go there. See, this is the thing, you know. What fears me is obviously not the injury part of motorcycle racing is very apparent. You know, it comes part and parcel of it. That's unfortunate, but it's the financial element. And the way things are at the moment, it is getting more difficult to try, especially on a privateer level, you know, to try and get the funds to go racing. It's like a good stock 1,000 now is £40,000. That's a lot of brass,
race
isn't it?
Season 10, 20 years ago.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like Northwest 200, it worked out over £5 a litre for fuel. That's controlled fueling.
Yeah.
Tyres are 360 quid. And you can sit there and sicken yourself off for the money element. But you could. You know, if you sat down and thought, my God, I can't afford it. But without dedicated sponsors, but you've got to keep them and approaching each sponsor, they have their own lives to lead as well. So each year it changes year in, year out, you know, each year. So someone kindly goes, there's £1,000. You're like, wow, that's £1,000. Next year, that may not be there. And that's part of it. In the great words of Miley Cyrus, it's about the climb, lads. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, just getting on a bike.
Hey, but let me stop you there, but without bursting your bubble. Once you get over that ridge, then you ride for a decent team that's paying for everything, but you've got to impress.
Yeah, I would love that chance.
So then the pressure's the other way, and the pressure's really on. That's like Dad standing over you saying, "You got to be on this podium, boy."
You see, I've never. You see, that's like I've never.
Do you see what I mean? The mindset. That's all.
I would love to have a go at that mindset, and to be blunt, I think I'd do well at that mindset, because I've never had those pressure pots. You know what I mean? It's like me, I've always been grateful for every year.
Of course, at the TT, nobody says that to you.
Oh, no.
Subconsciously, you know.
Of course,
what people are.
You're after a job, because it's like there's always someone after your job.
Yep.
100%. But, you know, like speaking out loud, you know, what does it take for someone like me to get a job? Steve, what does it take? You know, to be blunt, how much faster do I need to go?
If you'd have flipping stayed on at the senior this year, maybe that would have led to something different.
No, you're right.
I'm taking the mickey. However,
but
to step up the ladder, and I don't mean win or even podium, but just to be impressive, to the stepping stone for you is to ride for a really good privateer team, and then possibly one of the top teams like your Milwaukee BMW or Honda Racing or and so on. It's a stepping stone. But hey, listen, it doesn't matter what kind of sport or racing you're into, you need a little bit of luck sometimes.
You do, and
shine on the right day when the right people are watching.
And that's such a difficult thing, because like let's talk about 2023 a little bit. There's not going to be many moving seats, are there?
Not massively.
No, so
not massively.
So the biggest enigmas are. It's a bit like, where does Davy Todd want to go? I'd be amazed if he's not on a Honda next year. Because look how he's blending with it. And the Padgett's team it's Padgett's. You know what I mean? They're part of the infrastructure of the roads. You know, who wouldn't want to ride for Clyde Padgett?
Hey, one of the most successful TT teams.
Of course. But then the natural progression as far as a factory career move would be the Honda team. And it's a bit like, well, McGuinness, why would he want to give it up? But he's showing no signs whatsoever, in my opinion, that he wants to hang up his levers. There's not a single doubt. And I'm a McGuinness fan, and I don't want to see McGuinness stop. You know, there's a lot of naysayers out there, a lot of social media trolls.
Only because you want to beat him before he stops.
Oh, I've beat him a few times already. Just putting that out there. Just putting that out, McGuinness. But no, but I don't want to see people give up their passion. And McGuinness is so passionate about the thing. But not only that, he hasn't done a lot of riding this year, you know, in the great scheme of things. And he was doing 29s. Yeah. And he was on a different tyre manufacturer, you know, something that he's not used to. You know, there's a lot of variables that he's done that are different, and he's done an outstanding job, in my opinion, McGuinness, this year. But even going, it's a bit like Hutch, he's not going to pack in anytime soon. And why wouldn't he sign Hutchie? Dunlop always goes last minute. That's always been the Dunlop way. So he's always going to have a seat. So them top tier seats, there's not many of them.
No,
very true.
Like you say, you got to look at them top privateer teams.
Yeah.
And again, like Paul Jordan's, Jamie Coward, you know, they're taking those, and you know, you're there or thereabouts. But it's a matter of having that luck, that breaking luck that they get an extra bike, or you know, whatever it might be.
And it always comes down to that horrible thing, like brass tacks, doesn't it? You know, it's like it is brass tacks, isn't it? It's like the Counton team who are like race for, you know, like Fran Counton. I wouldn't want to change him for the world. But we just don't have the finances. Yeah. You know, get the violin out. You know, if you've got sound effects on this pod, you know, get the little violin out. You know what I mean? But every team will feel the same. You know, they're comfy around who they've got. And, you know, with Fran, I trust him. With Neil, I trust him. You know, them bikes are the best bikes they can put together with the money they've got.
With budget, yeah.
And now, don't get me wrong, that makes it sound like we haven't got any sponsors. We have amazing sponsors. But just not multi-millionaire sponsors. You know, you know, who want to go, bang, there you go. There's a serious pile of money.
Hey, there's never enough. Ever.
No, especially, well, there you are. Even like, you know, Tass Racing and, you know, Clive, you know, they're constantly looking for sponsors. It's a game where survival is key. Survival is key in this game. It is so hard, you know, that like, and even going back to it, it's like Lee Johnson. In essence, he's a privateer team.
Yeah.
You know, the Ashcourt lot, you know, that's one sponsor providing a privateer element. And then you've got, well, Gas Monkey Fei-Ho, you know.
Yeah.
They're privateers in some sort of fashion.
Yeah, it's not coming out of the factory, is it?
No, it's not.
Some sort of fashion.
Yeah.
Wait, the multi-billionaire, you know, gorgeous woman, you know, Fei-Ho just chucking in a pile of money, you know, it does help, doesn't it?
So let's play the hypothetical game, and a game that I don't believe is out of the realms of possibility. You end up on one of those bikes, one of those top 5 bikes. What do you feel like you're capable of doing on one of those bikes?
Top 5. Easy.
Do you think you could do that with very little effort because of the bike? As in, is that bike making that much of a difference?
I think
or the team,
a team infrastructure. I think there is so much more that happens behind the scene in racing that it goes without saying. You know, it's you've got telemetry, you've got readers, you've got like as a rider, your job is to collect data.
Yeah.
Someone to divulge that information and actually regurgitate it back out and go, this is what you want to be doing is so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's a bit like I can go around on a bike that'll kick and scream and push it to that limit. No problem whatsoever. But then it takes someone to come back and go, this is what you want to do different. And then you're riding to that limit yet again. It's about pushing them limits each time. And I think having that infrastructure, you will go faster. Winning a TT, I couldn't say here sitting now, but you need something a little bit special to go do that. That is the truth element of it. But having the right team and the right bikes is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Is a huge part of it.
It's something that it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, you can't just pick and choose and go, let me just try it and see what I'm capable of.
If anyone's out there willing, you know, if Tassar, listen, you have a word with Philip. They are I've got a little experiment to have a go at on Monday. Let's put him on that bike and see what you can do.
But it's frustrating because potentially you could do that and you could go faster than the guy that's currently on said bike, whatever that bike might be.
It would. I would love to give it a go. Of course, I would love to give it a go. It's like, you know, I was beating factory riders this year. You know, I was beating lads with bigger budgets, and that's of course it is. You know, I've got the grit, I've got the gum shield. You know, I put it in and go riding, and that's not going to change for me. You know, it doesn't matter what bike you put me on. I just want to go fast around there.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see it.
Hey, let's talk a little bit quickly.
Oh, hello.
About the podcast.
That's his retirement.
Whatever.
That's where he's retiring. Once he's finished at the TT, he's built this massive following on the podcast.
First of all, why? Why did he do it?
Why the podcast?
Yeah, why did he do it?
Well, basically, it was actually it was Chrissy's dad came up with the idea. Well, why don't you do a podcast like about bike racing? Because at that point there wasn't actually like a flooded market at that point with that. And this is BC before COVID, you know. And no, it was Chrissy's dad that came up with the idea, and Chrissy said he came up to me. I was absolutely leathered at the northeast do. You know what I mean? I was like, it's 3 a.m. I've got my top off above my head, 6 pints, and just whoop, giving it the big nines. And Chrissy obviously looked at me and just went, he's obviously full of
beans,
full of something that he thinks he'll be a good podcast host. And and we just started it off. We thought, let's give it a go, and it naturally gained traction, and it's just got out of hand. It's gone far out of hand. We've had over 2 million downloads, individual, and just on the iTunes element, and we reach nothing short than 180,000 people a month. It is just toxic.
What are we, 165 eps in nearly now?
Something like that, yeah. It's literally all become a blur. And like, we've just done Ron Haslam, which I messed up that interview. Massively messed up that interview.
Did Ron realise?
No. Oh, no. Ron's just more laid back and deflated line over that lad, isn't he? You know what I mean? It's to be honest, it's mad because I'm more nervous doing this than I have any of our podcasts, because you lads are in the driving seat, aren't you? You feel like you can twist and turn it at any point, and it's actually getting interviewed questions at you. It's like, how do I answer this correctly and how do I do it properly? It's actually nerve wracking. But when you're doing it yourself, and with our pod, we're not. It is totally tongue in cheek. We've had Steve on before. We had him on in the early days when we had to do it through Skype, and and now we've got like a mobile little studio that we tour behind the van, and we go to the house, and yourself. Like, over a phone call, you don't get the same feel of someone, do you?
No, not the same atmosphere, not the same feel. Yeah.
That's it. And like, I've literally done this with my eyes shut because I've had to, because I really want to open my eyes. It's hard to gauge a conversation with your eyes shut. You know what I mean? You're like, you don't know. You lads could be doing any kind of gestures, and deservedly so right now. But like, it's just, the pod has grown and grown and grown, and it is just good fun. It really is good fun, and it's just total tongue-in-cheek humour, and we can just say what we want, say how we do it. But the most important thing about like our pod, like, better put a mention, chasing the racing. But our pod, you're not scared of the competition, eh? But good man. But no, the thing about it is, we never ever dish out cheap shots. We do. Oh, good lad, it's got to be done. But like, it's all. If someone feels like they've dug themselves a hole, they can come and say, can we actually edit that out? Which is, you've got to give everyone a fair chance, haven't you? But we are talking about everything and anything. You know what I mean? It is good crack.
I know this is probably the question that Steve is going to ask you, because again, me and Steve, we've got like a bit of a bond now, and we can kind of judge it. And I guess that's the same with you and Chrissy, right? When Chrissy's going to jump in and ask a question, when it's your turn to talk. I don't know if he was going to ask this, but I'll find out in a minute with his face. Who's been your favourite guest?
Jeremy McWilliams.
Legend.
And why?
It's his attitude. It's more of a personal level kind of thing. It's like he's a kicking ass off 60, and he's just hungry. Every time you get him on a bike, he's dragging elbow. He's out testing a KTM. He's out on trials bike. He's got missing fingers. He's been around the world. And what I like about him is he's very open about how he started off racing. And a good friend of mine, who's actually a sponsor of mine as well, a lad called Roy Armstrong, he said to me that he was one of the most untalented riders going. And I immediately, laws of attraction went to him, because I never saw myself as a talented rider. And they always said Jeremy had to work at it. He was crashing all the time. He was never ever, he had to build on it and build on it and build on it and build on it. He never just hit the track and thought he's the next big thing. He had to work. He got in the MotoGP, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just got hunger. He's Peter Pan of Northern Ireland. He's never going to grow up, and he can just, and when you speak to him, his passion's there. And we've interviewed people, and you can probably feel like yourselves, lads, you're almost getting a pattern, and the interview almost seems quite, and you can almost establish a character very early on.
Yeah.
Jeremy threw that out the window for me. Totally threw that out my window, and we're getting like lads who are thinking about stopping like that, and you can almost hear the answer before they've even said it. Jeremy was like, nah, riding trials bike, motocrossing, you know what I mean? I'm off to do Daytona, I'm riding these Harleys out in America, and you're just like, I want to be you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he reminds me of my dad, you know what I mean? Granted, Jeremy Williams got a better fashion sense, but it's like, but my dad will kill us for saying that. There you go. But it's like, I've never ever heard my dad say I'm old. I can't do that. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that hide behind an excuse is upsetting, and it rubs off on people. I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because of this. Yes, I'm sitting here about the money element and stuff like that. But Jeremy and my dad have a very similar attitude in life. It's like, why not?
Find a way.
Find a way. I'm not saying they can do everything, but they'll go to their best every day.
Yeah. Yes,
Jeremy
exactly.
McWilliams is not sitting there going, I'm going to go win the AMA Motor America Championship. Someone said, there's a bike, son. He grabbed the keys straight out the hands, and he just goes and delivers. Doesn't promise anything. Just goes and does it.
Just goes about his life and lives it the way he wants to.
You know what I mean? I would love to be Jeremy. Who wouldn't? The amount of things he's won. You know what I mean?
All right, you say you don't take cheap shots. I'm going to throw it out there anyway.
Good man.
Who's been the worst guest? It's thinking about people who don't listen to this podcast and won't listen to it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll have to text you it later on. I'm generally...
Do you have one in mind?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It'll come back to us, and I'll come back on your pod next time going, that was the answer to that.
He's an absolute right.
Or the most difficult. You don't have to say crap, but everybody's different.
tell you-
Some people can't open up.
I tell you what, the most difficult one was Chris Burns.
Right.
Chris
okay.
Burns.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
at first I thought, and don't take any offence to this if you listen to this, Chris, but I just thought, he's a Geordie lad. He's been to MotoGP. He's done this. He's done that. He came in. He was like, because we're just like at the studio, having a cup of tea, cracking on like we all do and stuff like that. Put him in front of a microphone. He just went boom.
Clammed up.
One word answers. It was like, yep, nope, yeah. And me and Chrissy, it was early on in the stage of the pod. We've had, you'll probably tell if you listen to the pod, we've had no media training whatsoever, and it was just a rude awakening of how do you actually deliver on these things. And it was just like,
how do you work around it?
and me and Chrissy just looked at each other going, you better think of a question. And I'm thinking of a question while he's thinking of a question. I'm like, and we filled in.
Sounds like us.
And no, but it just, and then it filled in, and it went from like, this is going to be the world's longest pod. To actually, we built momentum, and it was like, oh, thank God for that. But it was like,
Got away with that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
just.
I mean, you could have easily said him.
No,
in my
but
teeth.
we definitely want to get the pet. See, the good thing about the pod is like, we see with this pod, are you being the TT podcast? How far can you reach out of the TT? Not really, in your
Well,
opinion.
it's about the person. We're
Yeah.
interviewing Dom Herbertson. We want to know about your history, what you do. Obviously, you about you cutting trees down and flipping, destroying the world. All them flipping, and
No, I meant as far as guests.
yeah. Well, they've got to be obviously. They've got to be within the eye of a TT fan.
That's
of
it.
course.
That's
'cause
it.
It's TT podcast.
Yeah.
Or an old has been, or somebody from the past. I mean, an ex TT rider or something. But it needs to be really TT related to get that. To reach the fan base and to talk about the event.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because it's like we're chasing a race, and we can actually open up the door to protect. Like we've had Billy Bolt on,
Yeah.
He world endurance lad. He's such a crack. You want to tie him, get him over to do a demonstration for the TT, just to get him on your show. He's that good. He is that good. But we can...
He's all right. He's never been out with me, obviously. But
Oh God.
Next question then. Who would you like as your the ultimate guest? Do you have one in mind that you would want on the podcast, regardless of whether you can get him on there or not? Who do you want on?
Travis Pastrana.
Nice.
100% Travis Pastrana. He's got more broken bones than Steve Plater. He actually
That's saying
holds
something.
he actually holds the Guinness World Record for the most broken and dislocations to the human body without being paralysed.
I haven't broken many bones.
You're more scar tissue than tan. What are you on about? You want to mean how many bones you've broken?
Have you spent any time with him?
What, Travis Pastrana?
Yeah.
No, God, no, I've never met the man. And that would be the nerve-wracking thing, because never meet your heroes, wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
I get to work with mine.
I spent a
I
bit
get
of
to
time with
work
Robbie
mine
Madison.
every
Same thing, crackers. Absolutely.
What's he?
Crackers.
Freestyle jumper.
Yeah, he jumped off that big building in flipping States, didn't he? In
Vegas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
jumped-
Oh, the
What
Arctic-
the hell do you do that?
Robbie Madison off the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
He's done backflips over Tower Bridge. He's done
Unbelievable.
all sorts, man.
Hey, he's not right. He's not right.
What
Is he?
about yourselves, lads? Who, if you could interview anyone, not even in motorcycle racing, who would be your dream interview?
Steve.
Was that your answer? Or you're putting the question to him?
Well, I think you'd have to answer that twice, because in racing, it would have to be Valentino for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I think would have to be. But away from... God, that's a good question.
Could be anybody.
Away from racing...
I don't like getting questions asked.
I don't know.
See what I mean? It's horrible, isn't it?
I've not enough
It's
time
horrible.
to put... There's so many. No, I don't know.
I've got a quick question for you. If you rolled up on the TT start line,
Yep.
would you win? No. Even you carry,
Now?
put Steve Player in his prime against Peter Hickman. I love that. The oxygen went out the room there. That was
You
great.
mean, I'm guessing your question is if we kind of came through at the same time and
Yep.
obviously, of course I'd beat him.
Good lad.
Of course I would. It took him, I don't know, too many years to beat me sectors. I'm flipping heck. I'm only joking.
Listen, by the way,
would be.
Hey, listen,
would.
that's a tough one to answer because I think Pete can go faster. Yet I don't think he's being pushed.
Nah.
However, it's not until you have to start pushing that you start making mistakes and go slower, as we had the conversation earlier. You see what I mean?
he is just calm, cool, and calculated. isn't he?
Everything's going his way. Because he's doing the perfect job at the moment as well, and he's the man to beat, as others in the past, from McGuinness to DJ to Steve Hislop to Fogarty to been around for a long time and had that pace for a long time. So, of course, no different to when I come through and John McGuinness was the king for years, winning everything. He was chomping at the heels and trying to be as fast and get better than them. Yeah.
There you go. Have that.
Have that. There's an
Have
answer.
Dom, we like to finish this podcast with Steve's quickfire questions. As you know, because you listen to the podcast.
Just answer the questions, mate, one or the other. No descriptions, no excuses. Lager or real ale?
Lager.
2-stroke or 4-stroke?
2-stroke.
Pineapple or no pineapple on a pizza?
Pineapple. Not a pizza, yeah.
Classic or modern motorcycle racing?
Modern.
That surprises me. Ireland or the Isle of Man?
Island.
Ooh.
Now, hold on.
No, that's your answer.
No. Now, to be fair to that one, you didn't say racing. You just said, what do you prefer?
We don't read anything into it. You just have to answer the question.
Yeah, there we are. Just... no, the sweat's coming on now.
Oak or pine?
Sorry?
Oak or pine? Oak
or pine.
or pine? You're a tree fella.
I know, I'm thinking. Pine.
TT Pillion ride with McGuinness or Hickey?
Hickey.
Still or Husqvarna?
Still. That's what did this.
Bray Hill or Glen Helen?
Glen Helen.
Last one. Chrissy Rouse or Chris Pritchard?
Chris. Because I've got posters up.
You mean your mum's got posters up?
Yeah.
Tip top.
Bang on. Dom, it's been an absolute pleasure. We can't wait to come on your podcast now.
Yeah, definitely. And, hey, you're going to have to come on now. You're going to have to get one up over Steve there.
Absolutely.
Hey, before we go, are you willing just to lift those glasses and look at that camera? Just so the guys can zoom in and have a look at, mate, it's amazing.
The mess.
Look at that, poor old boy.
Looks like he's crying.
Yeah, I know. It's
Does get a bit emotional in here.
Mate, that's a tough cookie and a big get well soon ready for the Manx, mate.
No, thank you very much.
Goes all good and you get back tip top and flipping.
Yeah, want to try and win some races.
No, fair play to you, mate. Fair play.
Cheers, Dom.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.
Hey up, Steve. What do you think that was a good laugh, right?
What a character.
I know.
And mate, has he been through it? I know it's only, it's just had his operation on his eye to get fixed up, but God, dear, that boy's been through, he's certainly been through it the last few weeks.
Right, he's left and he can't hear us. What do you think are his chances of, stepping up to that top 5, eventually getting a podium?
He was one of the surprises of the TT this year in the senior race.
Absolutely.
I know he had a bit of an issue. I don't know whether it was pilot error or not. I really don't. However, you've got to watch this space for the future. You really have. He's going from strength to strength. And like he says, I don't know. The only thing I don't know about Dom is I don't know whether he's better off running his own setup because he's much happier or moving over to somebody else's team.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes difficult. But without doubt, he's got a good chance of knocking on that top 5 door.
You're looking forward to going on the second best motorcycling podcast as well?
Hey, listen, it doesn't matter where I go, the sun will shine.
This has been the second part of episode 15 of the TT podcast. If you've enjoyed it, then please hit that subscribe button and make sure you leave us a review, because Steve loves to read about himself. There are plenty more names from the world of the TT on the way in this series, and here's a little taster of what you can expect from our next guest, the one, the only, Steve Plater.
My wife came over with me. Was doing lap after lap in a hire car and going round and round, and just this lunchtime, and I said, "Oh, come on, we'll just get a couple of laps in before we go back to the airport." So we got up early, sharp as off we went, doing a couple of laps, and then we come down to the bottom of Bigara, probably doing 80 mile an hour, and just dropped down to the bottom, and there were traffic lights. Just as approaching them, they went to red. I went through the bottom of Bigara, through these roadworks on red, with cones flying up in the air and traffic lights flying up in the air in my hire car, and just managed to get through before the cars were coming around the lights. Flipping her neck, yeah. And she never lets me forget it now still.
That episode will be out next week, and don't forget you can get all the latest TT news and features over at iomttracers.com. And be sure to check us out on all the usual socials. We are at TT Racers Official. Steve, it's a pleasure as always. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, mate.